Thank you, Mark, and a big hello from London. Now, you may be forgiven after you hear me talk about the technical actions of last week and thinking, what? This is all about currencies. And you would be partially right. You see, the big story in TA from last week was the number and variety of weekly key reversals down for the dollar against various currencies. But we also had other stories in New York coffee, in semiconductors, in Dutch natural gas, in rubber futures, and in GameStop. However, please bear with me while I deal with the big item first and look at the currencies. Oh, and by the way, the resultant moves this week may not be what you would expect. First off, we had a weekly key reversal down in the dollar index last week. One could see it as an immediate counter to the outside week formed 2 weeks ago prior, yet much as last week countered the previous week's bullishness, this week in the dollar index has so far countered last week's bearishness, though not to such a greater extent as we saw earlier. This dollar negative pattern of weekly key reversals against the dollar last week in many other currencies have this week seen reactionary dollar positive moves in euro dollar, dollar against the Japanese yen, US dollar against the Canadian dollar, plus many others such as dollar Swedish krona, US dollar Danish krona, US dollar Romanian lei. Indeed, the only currencies where I saw a continuation lower for the dollar this week were in US dollar against the Brazilian real, where we have been mainly static with a small move lower for the dollar, and US dollar against the CNH, the offshore Chinese yuan, which likewise has seen only a small follow-on lower this week in the dollar. What is more is the overall number of these one-way moves in multiple currencies against the dollar. And it's had some side effects in other non-dollar cross-currency pairings. Thus, we have ended up with a weekly key reversal down in euro sterling last week, which this week has seen a reactionary move back up. And a weekly key reversal up in euro yen last week, which, for a change, has actually seen at least the attempt of a follow-on higher this week. The final one was a weekly key reversal up in sterling yen, which has seen an attempted follow-on higher at the start of this week, but which has seemingly pulled back to last Friday's close. The more we have ventured actually into this week. That's enough now on the currencies. Let's look at the other markets. And we had a weekly key reversal up in New York coffee futures, which was not duplicated in the London contract, but which nevertheless saw a really nice follow-through higher over the key long-moving average, currently at 169.85, but is now hesitating ahead of the congestion and Fibonacci combination at 174 even. That stretches up to about 175.5. I deal with this more fully in my coffee video commentary that was published this past Monday. Meanwhile, we had a weekly key reversal down in ICE Dutch TTF gas baseload futures last week. This has seen the beginnings of a follow-on lower this week. We also had weekly key reversals up in the Philex Semi-Conductor Index and in SGX SciComm TSR20 rubber futures. And finally, a TikTok generation favorite, a weekly key reversal up in GameStop in the US. I just wish to, by once more emphasizing the general weekly key reversal down in dollar versus the currencies that we saw last week, I don't recall seeing such a concerted action like this, well, for many years at least, nor have I seen such a general reactionary move back in favor of the dollar as we have seen this week. This is certainly a thing to ponder. As always, I'm happy to answer any direct questions with anyone who's interested, and with that, I'll finish this section from London. I hope that you found these comments useful.
Thank you for listening. This weekly broadcast gives the essential market patterns and consequences. Please be aware of the risk disclaimer posted both at the front and the back of this broadcast. Copyright is Eddie Topic and ADM Investor Services International Limited. And here comes the final important bit.